Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. And today it is time for Let's Talk About Demon Slayer, The Infinity Castle. That's right, the first of 3 Demon Slayer movies to finish the final arc of the series is here. And funnily enough, it came out on Friday last week, and it will still be on quite a few times today and once tomorrow in the UK. I've never seen an anime movie appear in the cinemas in the UK as many days in a row as this one, and as many times in the same day as this one. But I do need to go on a quick tangent, so I don't know if I voiced this on the channel before, but if not, I'll voice it now. I'm not a particularly big fan of when shows use a movie, when anime shows use a movie to either continue or end the series. Now I know that makes me sound like a hypocrite, because my favourite anime of all time, The Quintuplets, literally has a movie to end off the series. And as much as I absolutely do love that movie, I would have preferred a season 3, but that's not what we got. I just think it's Demon Slayer's fault that this trend even started. I blame Mugen Train back in 2020, which I made a video on the channel back then about it. Not because I'd seen it, because I hadn't, because COVID. Nobody outside of Japan could see it back then. Because of how financially successful the movie was, it became the highest grossing Japanese animated movie of all time, one of the highest grossing animated movies in general of all time, and one of the highest grossing Japanese movies of all time. So it was very successful, and actually this movie, Infinity Castle, made $33 million on its opening day. Not weekend, opening day. This is probably going to be even more financially successful than what Mugen Train was 5 years ago, since anime has grown a lot in the last 5 years, for better or worse, mostly worse. So let's actually now start talking about the movie itself. So I describe this movie with the two Fs. Fights and flashbacks. Those are the 2 main things that happen in this movie. So there's only 3 main fights in the whole movie. The first one is Shinobu versus the 2nd upper rank demon. Then the second one is Zenitsu versus the 6th upper rank demon, and the third and final and longest fight of the movie by far is Tanjiro and Giyu versus the 3rd upper rank demon, the guy on the thumbnail, Akaza. So we get lots of backstory and flashbacks for each character in their main fights. We learned that the 2nd upper rank demon killed Shinobu's sister, which I didn't even know she had a big sister. But this movie shows that the only reason he never devoured her is because the sun was coming up. So Shinobu found her lying on the floor in a pool of blood on the verge of death. And you know the butterfly cape thing that Shinobu always had around her? Her sister used to have that, and after she died, Shinobu decided to always wear that instead, as a sort of a tribute to her sister, which is quite wholesome. Now the fight between Shinobu and the 2nd upper rank demon is, as you'd expect, animated beautifully because it's Demon Slayer. I mean, Studio Ufotable don't miss when it comes to their animation. So Shinobu tries to use poison against the guy, even though he tells her all she has to do is cut here and she'll take him out. Unfortunately, no matter what she tries, it doesn't work. Instead, she tries to kill him with poison. This does not work in the slightest. He just keeps regenerating. And this goes on for a bit as Shinobu gets angrier and angrier. Not only because she's struggling to defeat him, but because of what he did to her sister. So she gets really angry and even gets one of her lungs punctured by him. And there's no way in how she should even be alive, and yet she manages to stand up despite the fact she shouldn't even be alive anymore. So she uses the most deadly attack left she has, and unfortunately, it doesn't work. While she's also explaining her backstory to the second upper rank demon while she's fighting him, and it touches him very much. He's very touched by her story, so he hugs her, which crushes all of her bones. And the unthinkable happens. The second upper rank demon kills Shinobu. Yes, one of the Hashira is dead. And of all the Hashira it could have been, why did it have to be my beloved Shinobu? Why did it have to be her? I mean, I didn't want any of the others to die, but why has it got to be her? So Shinobu gets killed and absorbed by the demon, and pretty much straight after, Kano walks in and starts fighting him, but her fight with the second upper rank demon happens completely off screen, and we don't see the two of them again until the end of the movie, where Kano has taken a little bit of battle damage, but we don't actually see them fight. Maybe in the second movie we'll see Kano fight the second upper rank demon to avenge not only Shinobu's sister, but Shinobu herself. So that was the first fight. The second fight is Zenitsu versus the 6th upper rank demon, which just so happens to be his brother who got turned into a demon. And he comes from the thunder breathing school of breathing techniques. So instead of having demon blood art, like most of them, instead he has the same breathing techniques as he did before he turned into a demon. And the backstory and the flashbacks between here show that Zenitsu and Gaikaku, which is the guy's name, were training under their grandpa with the thunder breathing techniques, and Zenitsu only ever learned first form of the thunder breathing, and Gaikaku basically learned everything else. Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth forms, but he never learned the first one. So people didn't take him seriously as a thunder breather because he couldn't learn the very first form, whereas Zenitsu couldn't learn anything beyond the first form. And Zenitsu is pissed off at him because their grandpa committed seppuku after Gaikaku left. For those of you who don't know what seppuku is, it's very well known in Japanese culture. Committing seppuku is where someone grabs a sword and basically does this, pulls it in and stabs themselves with it. And because there was no one around to slice his head off and make his death much quicker and painless, he had to just bleed out in immense pain. And Zenitsu will never ever forgive him for that. So Gaikaku has the upper hand on Zenitsu, but then Zenitsu brings out his secret weapon, the 7th form of thunder breathing. There's only supposed to be 6, but Zenitsu literally invented his own thunder breathing form and technique, which is exactly what he uses to defeat his brother. And then he gets saved by one of the few good demons in the show. Now all the other characters, like Inosuke, he just fights random demons while screeching about wanting to find the strongest demon he can. All of the Hashira are also just fighting regular demons. So Mitsuri and the Serpent Hashira, those two are just fighting regular demons. the blind Hashira, I always forget his name, and Tokito, those two are just fighting regular demons. The two brother Hashiras who have the very menacing faces, those two are also just fighting regular demons. And that brings us to our third and final fight of the movie, and by far the longest fight of the movie. Tanjiro and Giyu versus Akaza. This fight goes on for a long time. We start learning more about both backstories of Tanjiro and Akaza. We learn that when Akaza was a human, he was very mischievous, always stealing, always causing trouble. And he was given, and the three, lines around each of his arms, the 3 lines around each of his arms, are tattoos that he was given to signify he's a criminal. So he ends up going to a new village, and he meets the owner of a dojo who beats the ever-loving crap out of him after he'd just beaten up 5 grown men himself. He gets the crap beaten out of him by the dojo owner. And the dojo owner basically says he pummeled the criminal out of him and makes him take care of his daughter, who is very, very ill and bedridden a lot of the time. So he spends multiple years doing this to where Koyuki, which is the name of the daughter, falls in love with him and wants to spend the rest of her life with him. But he goes to his old village to pay respects to his father, who has since passed away, pay respect on his grave. When he gets back to the new village he's been living in for the last few years, both the dojo owner and Koyuki are dead because somebody poisoned the drinking well, and the two of them both died while Akaza was away. This pisses him off and makes him so angry to where he just murders literally everybody in the village, and he doesn't care. He murders absolutely everyone. So then Muzan finds him, and he sensed a big bloodlust, so he came to see what was going on, thinking maybe it was a demon, but then he says, oh, it was only a human. Akaza tries to attack Muzan, but it's Muzan, the strongest demon of them all. He just shoves his hand straight through Akaza's face and turns him into Akaza. And throughout the fight, no matter what Tanjiro and Giyu were doing to Akaza, it wasn't working. They even successfully sliced off his head. And even that did not work. Even that didn't work. But in the end, the way Akaza is defeated he's not actually defeated by Tanjiro or Giyu. Instead, he gets ready to do his most powerful attack yet, even though his head has not been regenerated. But instead of doing his most powerful attack to Tanjiro and Giyu, he does it to himself, and finally becomes at peace with himself as he can, return home to the dojo and to Koyuki. And that's pretty much the movie. I explained it in a much simpler detail than the movie actually is. The movie is 2.5 hours long. It's the longest anime movie I've ever seen. And I'll be honest, Akaza's backstory goes on for a long, long time. So it did start to drag a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of Demon Slayer anyway. I think it's good, but I don't think it's like amazing. So I'd give the movie something like a 7 out of 10. I wouldn't dare say this movie is amazing. But if you're a fan of Demon Slayer, you should still go and see it. And well, it's still on today in the UK, and it's on tomorrow. So if you haven't seen it yet, you still have just a little bit of time to go and check it out. I also went to go see the movie with Ash, which was the first time the two of us had seen each other, had hung out together since Get Your Geek On. So that was nice. Whether she'll make a video about it or not, I doubt it. Just me. So that's gonna conclude the video. If you guys have enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and until we meet again, see you in the next one.